It's the 15th of January 2019 and I'm here at Ticknall Cricket Club and I'm talking with
John Dumelow
and
Aidan, Melen.
Yeah. Gentlemen, thanks very much indeed for joining the Cricket Derbyshire Foundation Oral History Project. If I could just start off really with what do we know about the origins of cricket played in Ticknall?
Well, basically, we haven't got any details of actually when it started, but I believe it's probably sometime in the mid-1800s.
Right.
Probably about 1850, somewhere like that. And we didn't play where we're playing now. We played just over the hedge in the middle of the field called the Slade. And I presume at that stage it would just be a strip cut out in a field and a grazed out field. And but the first record we've got of anything substantial was in 1910 when the team won the Burton District Cricket League, and we've got a photograph of that, and it's they're all dressed in whites and look quite respectable, so it's obviously quite a well-established club at that time. But that would be just before the First World War, so obviously things had fallen into abeyance during the war. And in 1921, they actually moved the ground to the Grange where we're actually playing up to today.
How would, I mean, this must be huge challenges to move cricket grounds. I've talked to so many people during this project about, oh, we moved grounds. But, I mean, even in today it's a challenge, but post-war, post-First World War, it must have been an enormous
It would have been a
challenge.
much bigger challenge because the field at the time had got a lance in it, and but the pitch was levelled off, and also the football club came at the same time, and they played down the one side of the field as well, which was part of the outfield.
And do we know who was kind of masterminding or leading this? Were there any benefactors, or was it just hard-working club people?
I think it was just hard-working club people, which were mostly probably village people or connected with the village in some way or other at that time. Because obviously there was only one, just running one senior side at the time.
Well, I'm mindful that neither of you gentlemen will go back in time to that particular time. But perhaps, Aidan, if I could just come to you and ask you, what was your first association with the game, and then subsequently with Ticknall, or were they one and the same?
Well, I always played on the back lawn with my dad and my brother Simon, and you know, it was just happened to be in the same village next to John's, really, John's farm at the time, and I think one day John and Rob Dumelow, his brother, must have found out that I was keen on cricket. I think it was 1972, as a very young lad, was dragged along to play at a cricket match, and in those days you just fielded, really. You just and I think I took a good catch, so everybody was pleased with that, and that was it, and that was probably 1972. I think it was at Ashby where we were playing, and that was the first experience. But I did play at school, both the schools, so I had an opportunity to play at both my schools that I was at, and got on to the first 11 at Trent College, which I went to later on. So, and that's where I sort of, had the opportunity to really improve my skills, really, as a cricketer. So yeah, I've really, that's how I went. And then obviously every summer I'd come back and play at the club.
And was that, in 72, was that competitive from day one or friendly cricket?
No, I did. The one that I don't think I was good enough to get in the senior side. I think that was a Sunday friendly. Yeah. So I think you had to wait your time before you got into the only team, which is the first 11, and probably it was a few years or when I was short. But I just remember in those days when I did get in the team, the same players were available every week. It was just it was very odd if a player was unavailable, sort of thing.
No cricket season weddings.
No, that was completely frowned upon.
Yeah. So when did your association start, John?
Well, a bit before Aidan, unfortunately in some ways. It would be when I was 13 years old. I'd already playing cricket at school. When I played my first game, so that would be in about 1956.
Really?
When I first played. And
how did you have people who you knew at Ticknall?
Well, yes, I mean I lived at Cork, which always been connected with Ticknall, so it's only just the other side of Cork Park, so that's why it's my sort of local club. and so that's why when I started playing, and I was played until I was 62, but I've not played for 13 years now.
So at 13 years of age, and we've already heard from Aidan, there was only one team, so presumably there was only one team.
Yes,
in the 50s.
we had one team, and we didn't start a second team up till I think it was 1982 when we started the second team.
So were you playing presumably alongside?
Well, yeah, we were playing friendly cricket at that time, and we joined the Derby District League around, I think it was 71 probably, somewhere around there, and we played there in the Derby District League until 1984, right, when we left there and we moved into the Central Derbyshire League, along with quite a few other clubs when the Central Derbyshire expanded from first division and a second team division, and they expanded to 4 divisions. So that's when we joined. We joined the Division 2 and played there 85 first time, and by 87 we got promoted, I think, the first year, and in 87 we actually won the championship in Division 1.
We'll come back to that in a minute.
Yeah.
Can I just take you back to your comment about the association with Cork Abbey? Was that just a geographical association, or were the connections between
there was
Cork and the club of a more personal nature?
Well, yeah, I mean, the family had been sort of lived actually in Ticknall or between Ticknall and Cork for some generations, so there was a strong connection really with the villages. Obviously, Cork village and Ticknall were all owned part of the Harper Crew estate, really, right, so that was why it was all sort of like together, really. And
So Aidan, you started, both of you started as relatively young men in the game, but we've already heard that Ticknall started winning things in the 80s. Was the development of the club around that time as well, where the expansion from just a first team to
I think we started to go first of all as a second team and then running junior sides. I mean, I really only got involved when I came back. I used to live and work in Birmingham, so came back probably 30 odd years ago, and I got involved a bit more sort of on the ground, which is what my main interest was, looking after Cricket Square and the ground, and then obviously playing first 11. I was a batsman, so I wanted to be as good a pitch as it could be. So I was quite.
What was the motivation for what? I've always wondered what. You see, you just drop that out. You know, my interest was the ground. I mean, it's scarcely an easy job. I mean, it's hard labour and grafting in all weathers at times.
Yeah.
So what was the motivation?
I think we were short of a groundsman, and you just happened to be there. I mean, at the time, I was probably for the next 20 years the youngest groundsman on the circuit. Right. But I mean, I just enjoyed it. I enjoyed doing it, and
where did you pick up the skills from?
Well, I mean, going around other groundsmen, really. I mean, there's fantastic groundsmen in the area, and a lot of them are more than helpful. Yeah. Arnie Gaskin, Steve Hollis, Alan Davis, just 3, but there's many more. And I would go around a cricket ground, and if I saw a groundsman there, I'd go and have a chat to him. Is there anything I could learn from him? What's he do different to me? What's it, improve? How do you improve your cricket square and things like that? So that's really how I sort of got involved in the getting good marks if you're lucky enough to do that, improving the cricket square over many years. I mean, when I first started, we were using Mendip loam, which is not a loam that's used much now, and 20 years ago I think we moved to Boughton loam, which is a heavier clay loam, and it obviously makes the cricket square and the cricket pitch a lot better. Yeah. So
just looking back to that period in the 70s, were you, and into the early 80s, had you got at this time any professional cricketers or overseas players, or was it strictly locally developed, locally produced players?
Mainly locally produced players. The only time we did have sort of players from the outside was actually Tony Borrington played for us in 87, right. When he was coming back from injury. Because obviously he was, by then I think he'd just about finished with the county, and he'd been proing in local sides, probably mainly in the border league as it was then, and others. but he felt he wasn't fit enough to do it. Because he'd had a back injury, so he came and played with us. So that was really strengthened us up. And that was the year we had Steve Baines as well, who was one of the top sort of bowlers in the area, and he came and joined us just for that season really, and so that was it really. I mean, they just came and played as players really.
What was the difference then from playing? You've played schools cricket and then you play league cricket to having professional. Tony was a capped Derbyshire cricketer with an excellent record in the leagues as well. Yeah. So what was it? How did it change the way in which the game was played, or the way you looked at the game?
I think we'd got quite a strong side besides those two as I mentioned. There was Aidan and his brother Simon, who used to keep wicket. Mike Redfern, who was a prolific scorer as well of runs, and was the first person to get 200 for Ticknall.
Right.
And that was in 88 that was actually. He got 200 not out against Clifton in the league match.
Which is good going in those days, because I know nowadays the scores have sort of...
He's one of only 3 players actually. The other 2 that have got scored 200 in, one was in the Brewery Cup game when Luke Harvey got 200, and the other one was Kenny Fitzgerald, who was from Tasmania actually. Right. He came over, I think he was just about the first overseas player we had, and he came over and he got 208 not out in the league match, which still stands as a record in Division 1 in the county league.
And what were the facilities like, Aidan, as a young player when you first?
Well, when I first joined, there was a metal sheet round the back where you had to go for to relieve yourself, put it like that, and that was the facility. It was just a box changing room, and I don't know what we had the first extension. In which year was that? The
first time that obviously the pavilion was changed, because it used to be just a wooden one on the same site as the pavilion is now, and unfortunately 1968 it was burnt to the ground at the beginning of May. And we lost the tea hut, which was next door to it.
Was that an accident?
Suspicious circumstances, shall we say. We had an idea of who'd done it, but there was never any proof. So anyway, that was at the beginning of the season.
So how did you...
That was it was a time when we were only running one club, obviously, one team, should I say, in '68. And it was a time when we could have easily said, right, that's it. Because we got nothing left.
So how did you play that season?
Well, we managed by we changed in the garage in the churchyard, next to the church, and we went and we had teas down at the wheel. So that's how we got over it, and we got through that.
It must have been a financial challenge to then.
Well, we were lucky really that the ground itself it was on a lease to the parish council, and the council sort of put some money into it and built us a brick building, which was just 2 changing rooms and a toilet and a small kitchen, and that was it really basically. And we finished it off inside actually and did bits to it inside. So we got through. By the next season, obviously we were up and running again. Lots of clubs round about loaned us some kit and various stuff. So, I mean, all the mowers went and everything. We got nothing, so we started from scratch basically again.
These would have been the days in '68, presumably, of the club kit bag, wouldn't it?
Oh yes, we just got a kit bag. You're right. That's it.
Everything in it.
Green spiky gloves that you thought with things sticking out of them.
So a real challenge, but one.
One we got over. We were still only playing friendlies, you see, at this stage, and then sort of soon after we started to get a bit stronger, and we joined the Derby District League. So. And then we went on from there, and then the 80s really was the time when the club probably really started to take off, because we started in the second team in 82, I think it was, and we followed on from then, and we started junior sides actually in the early 80s with a under 17 and under 15 side. If Zach had been here tonight, he was one of the early ones in the under 15s.
Can I ask you, was the introduction of a second 11 purely down to the fact you got so many players?
Yeah, it was,
Sort of left over, as it were.
That's it. It was just And almost there were teams within a team really. You'd have the 11 for the first 11, the 11 for the second 11, and hardly changed. There was no sort of, because they were all committed to playing for which team they played for, sort of thing. But that obviously has changed now. But
and both teams were playing competitive.
Yes, they were both playing in the
So
league.
in the same league.
Yeah, well,
the Central Derby's you had to have two teams.
Yeah, two teams.
Right.
So
And there was a league for first 11s and a league for second teams.
Yeah.
Obviously that changed when we moved into the county league.
Who were your opponents in the Central Derbyshire with the regular?
Well, you're looking at Elverston, Swarkston, Shipley Hall with lovely ground, Belper Meadows, North West Leicestershire,
Duffield, Alistry.
Shepshed.
Nice places.
Yeah,
Nice grounds, they were, yeah.
I mean, when we moved and merged with the county league, I mean, they were delighted to have some of the quality grounds to come into the county league. That's what they look forward to playing on.
So. And who were your biggest rivals back then in the Central Derbyshire League? Who were the teams that you?
I mean, I suppose
looked the wrong way.
The year we won the league, where Swarkston finished 1 point behind us.
And that rivalry.
So
I mean, I suppose the rival initially would have been Melbourne, who probably before that were stronger than Ticknall. They were a strong side in the early 70s, Melbourne were. But it sort of changed when you don't play them and you move past them in the leagues. You don't play them, so you're not that much of a rival.
And you must have seen a change in the clubs that have disappeared. I know we were looking before we started the interview at some of the scorecards which are on the table in front of us, and teams that just don't exist.
Well, it's not only that, it's general. I mean, there's more than 10 teams, grounds that I've played on against teams in the Woodville, Swadlincote area, or in the villages round about. There were, and they've all gone now. There isn't any of them left. The only one the only two that's left are Hartshorn, which is and Woodville, where I was third.
Well, we've got a lot more to talk about, but I just finished this particular interview. So, what is it that keeps Ticknall strong? Because I know we're going to discuss the fact that we're in the pavilion of the champions of the Premier League and swept all before them last season. But what, in your opinion, has kept Ticknall strong and maintained its presence at the top table, as it were, of league cricket?
I think this is really Aidan's department, because it's the juniors really, the amazing amount of juniors we've had since we started we'd started, as I said earlier on, in the early 80s, but we didn't really get going up till sort of towards the end of the 80s, and then obviously other teams came along, sort of in the 90s really, like the under-13s. It was there wasn't much under-13 cricket, not before then in this area. And then the Quicks we started in 1999, and followed by the under-11s in 2004. So that's where, and we were running 2 teams at under-13 and under-11, as we're still running 2 at under-11. And there was a lot of juniors coming through, and obviously someone sort of stuck with it and kept going.
So
not to look on the time.
Well, I think I certainly realised my career was coming to an end, and the only way I could sort of influence the cricket club in the future was assisting the juniors really coming through, getting a new lot to come through. And luckily some of the players that have come through have gone on to play first 11 cricket, play second 11, and also are involved in other aspects of the cricket club as well. So I think very much making sure the juniors take on your mantle, because you can't keep doing it.
I mean, if we can just say, I mean, the junior section was really run by Aidan for many years, really. I mean, I probably started it, but Aidan took over from me, and he was the leading light up till, this past 4 years, when obviously things have changed, really, because, the fact that, Aidan had got that much on with the ground and his business and everything, it was all getting a bit too much, and so we've just moved on from there a bit. But I mean, it's down to all the effort that he put in during those years, that we are where we are today, really.
Well, that's a brilliant introduction to Ticknall. I know a little bit more about it now. We'll talk to you again shortly. Thank you.